Hey guys, Aaron Dorr here with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. I have very bad news for gun owners here in Missouri. This is an urgent, time-sensitive alert. Please take a moment, listen to this entire video, and take immediate action. We have just found out that there are harmful, lethal amendments that are being shopped right now here in Jeff City in the Senate by gun control lobbyists who are trying to kill the Second Amendment Preservation Act. If you're low on time right now and can't catch this entire video, I get it. Whatever else you do, hit the link below and send your pre-written email to your senator telling him or her to vote no on the amendments, the gun control amendments that are being filed on the Second Amendment Preservation Act. At least do that much now and come back and finish the video later. For those who are new to this, the Second Amendment Preservation Act, we call it SAPA law for short, tells the federal government that they cannot force Missouri cops, our cops, to enforce federal gun control laws. And it's not just laws. It's executive orders, it's treaties, it's all the bureaucratic mumbo jumbo that comes from D.C. It says that Missouri is a sovereign state. We have our own state constitution. It protects the Second Amendment. We have pro-gun laws here in Missouri. Missouri taxpayers pay for Missouri cops to enforce laws of the state of Missouri. And specifically, when it comes to SAPA, SAPA says that Missouri cops shall only enforce Missouri law when it comes to firearms, ammunition, and accessories. We need these protections because without them, the next Democrat president could try to use our own cops against us and force them to carry out the enforcement of federal and unconstitutional gun control laws that are not even close to the laws of the state of Missouri. That's what SAPA does. Now, the good news is that we're past the committee process in both the House and the Senate. SB 23 passed out over 2 weeks ago. The House version passed out quite some time ago as well. And the good news, the great news perhaps, is that SB 23, Senate Bill 23, is on the debate calendar, and it may come up for a vote very, very quickly. And that is why the gun control lobby is pouncing right now here in Jeff City, trying to kill SAPA law with these harmful amendments. I'm going to give you 6 different things this amendment does. As you'll see, any one of these is designed to and would kill SAPA legislation. Combined, it is an absolute kill shot. And that, of course, is their entire goal. So 6 points. Number 1, this amendment here in Jeff City is designed to kill SAPA by limiting it to saying it only applies to federal gun control laws, orders, rules, etc. that take effect after August of this year. What that means is that Missouri cops could be forced to carry out all current federal gun control laws, orders, treaties, etc. And that specifically includes the orders that Joe Biden signed that are still the law of the land in this country, unfortunately, that make it a crime to have a pistol brace, for example, attached to your firearm, or that redefine what a firearms dealer is, or many other things. And what's more, this is a real sneak attack. You see, there are all kinds of rules in the federal court system about what is an arbitrary law. And one of the easiest and fastest ways to have a law struck down is to have a court decide it's arbitrary. There is nothing more arbitrary than having a law here in Missouri that says Missouri cops can be forced to carry out federal laws from the beginning of time until August of 2025. But from that point forward, no, they're done. This is a devious attack to sabotage SAPA, both on the front side and eventually if this goes back into court. That's the first part of the amendment. From there, this amendment destroys SAPA by allowing Missouri cops to enforce federal gun control laws as long as they simply say that we have reasonable suspicion that a federal crime was being committed. This defeats the entire purpose of the Second Amendment Preservation Act. If we have this language in the bill, then all of the blue cities, the liberal counties that we have in this state would simply tell their officers, hey, you want to get past SAPA? You want to bypass SAPA? Simply claim you have reasonable suspicion that a federal crime was being committed, and then boom, you are immune from the Second Amendment Preservation Act. You can go and grab those guns. This is a deliberate attempt to weaponize blue cities and blue counties against gun owners and bypass the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Again, the entire point of SAPA is to have Missouri cops enforce Missouri law when it comes to firearms, ammunition, and accessories. This part of the amendment is designed to destroy that. The third aspect of this amendment that would destroy SAPA is one of the most in your face of the entire package. The third amendment says that SAPA is not applicable as long as Missouri cops are temporarily assigned to a joint federal task force for the purpose of enforcing federal gun control laws. You can see it on your screen right now. What we did in SAPA is said that Missouri cops have to enforce Missouri law. And Missouri cops cannot bypass that by simply joining an ATF task force for a day, for a week, or for a month, and then come back to being part of their local jurisdiction. You see, how it's worked before is when ATF wants to go out there and seize guns from a gun owner, they'll grab a couple city cops here, a couple deputies here, a couple troopers over here. And then for that purpose, for that task force, those officers are no longer Missouri cops, they're federal officers. And so what this amendment would do is allow that to be a carve out to SAPA and say, oh, no, you're not a Missouri state trooper today, or you're not a St. Louis city cop today, you're an ATF agent. And that's a carve out to the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It is nasty stuff. That is the third aspect of this amendment. The fourth one may be the worst of all. If you see here, this is on page 5 on the amendment. This totally guts the requirement for a civil penalty in the Second Amendment Preservation Act. SAPA law previously and SB 23 currently contain civil penalties. We have to have a way to hold blue cities accountable because St. Louis and Kansas City will try to violate SAPA if there's no penalties. How do we know that? Well, for example, right now in Jackson County, Kansas City, they are willfully intentionally breaking the laws and passing local gun control in violation of state preemption law. They were told it was illegal. Their county executive vetoed the measure, and the county said, screw it, F you to the law, to the Constitution, and to their own county executive, and they passed it anyway because they do not care. We have to have a way to hold these jurisdictions accountable, or else this law is more or less a resolution. And so what you can see here on your screen is this gives the judge sole discretion on any penalties related to the Second Amendment Preservation Act, whereas our bill, it's a shall issue $50,000 penalty per violation, per occurrence. The fifth aspect, do you guys see how nasty this is? This is coming from lobbyists who are trying to claim they're pro-gun. But they are absolutely doing the bidding of Michael Bloomberg and the gun control lobby right now here in Jeff City. It is absolutely nasty stuff designed to kill this bill. The fifth aspect to this amendment, that is just going to make your blood boil. You can see your screen right here. It restates sovereign immunity as a defense against the Second Amendment Preservation Act. What does that mean? Well, in SAPA law, we carve out this immunity. Right now, if you're a law enforcement agency in Missouri, you basically are immune from civil charges. And there's reasons for that, because obviously we don't want criminals to try to go after these agencies for arresting them for being a bad guy. But when it comes to something like SAPA, and jurisdictions and departments who are trying to willfully violate this to attack our gun rights and enforce federal gun control laws, we have to have a different standard. And that's why current SAPA law and what you see right now in SB 23 remove sovereign immunity. And what that means is the agency can be civilly sued. We're not suing individual cops with SAPA. We didn't when it was a law for a couple of years previously. And our bill this year does not sue individual cops. That's not the goal. But we have to have a mechanism to hold the agency who orders their officers to violate SAPA accountable. That's what SB 23 does. This amendment gives them a complete carve-out by reinstating sovereign immunity as a defense against the Second Amendment Preservation Act. That means you could not sue these agencies for violating this section. And the last part of this I want to talk about today is a complete gutting of the majority, anyway, of section 1.471 of this bill. Now, what this section deals with is a real problem here in Missouri and other states, frankly, and we kind of refer to it as badge swapping. So one day you have a guy who is a Lincoln County Sheriff's deputy, but then the next day he joins a federal task force for a week or for a month, and he goes out there and he enforces federal laws, and then he comes right back to his local department. Happens a lot. Now, this is different from a task force. They're both a task force. What we're talking about here is an intentional action that some departments have taken previously to bypass SAPA. And so what they'll do is, well, again, one day you work for your local jurisdiction, the next day you're a Fed, and you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That is an action that other states have seen where liberal cities are deliberately trying to bypass the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It's called badge swapping. And so we want to protect Missouri cops from this. We want to protect gun owners from this. We want to protect our state constitution from being attacked with this process. And that's why SAPA law in 1.471 says that these guys may not simply be bounced back and forth as a Fed one day and a state cop the next day. And a jurisdiction who does that and who willfully tries to violate SAPA in this way can be facing charges, civil charges, for a violation of this section. This amendment destroys every single bit of that and allows our cops to be used as yo-yos by liberal departments who are trying to bounce them around back and forth to violate the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Guys, I hope your blood is boiling by this point. This amendment, it's pages and pages and pages long. I have broken it down for you guys in 6 hopefully concise sections. But these gun grabbers are desperate to kill SAPA because they know that there's going to be a day in the not too distant future where we have a radical commie in the White House again, and he or she will try to use our own cops against us to enforce federal gun control laws. Now is the time to throw up these safeguards here in Missouri and make sure this cannot happen in our state. But there are those in the Senate right now who may be tempted to go along with this, and that's why they've got to hear from you guys immediately today. Please, again, take a moment, hit the link below and send your pre-written email to your senator today telling him or her to vote no on this amendment that is clearly designed to kill the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Guys, this bill could be on the floor in the coming days. This could happen very quickly. Don't let us decide. Don't forget about it. Take action right away. And then forward the action link in this video to everyone that you know who cares about the Second Amendment. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on X. You can find it on Facebook. Help us get the word out. Much more to come, guys. Take action right away.